Hey guys, so it happened. It happened today. We played the Switch. So I played the games, I got some footage, which you guys will see soon. Did everything actually. Got some pretty cool stuff. I think this is like a microfiber cloth that says Switch, which is cool. We got 2 pins. For some reason they gave me 2 of them. I don't really know why. They just handed me 2 on the way out, but I'm giving these away, so all you gotta do, guys, leave a comment below. I'll just do another random comment draw. 2 people, so I'll do two pulls, and just like the video as well. That'll help out. But if you just want to comment below, that'll give me an idea or a way to draw like we did before. I also got a cookie. Again, I got 2 of these. I actually ate one of these already, so I got 2 of these too. I don't know why they gave me 2, but 2 cookies, and then they gave me like I guess these are like M&Ms. I don't know. They're just like red and white colored M&M looking things with the Switch. That's why I don't open things in public like that. Yeah, they're just M&Ms. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually talk about the system. Let's talk about what I did today. So let me give you a quick backstory to this because there's a little bit to talk about here. Now, I woke up this morning a little after 5. Got ready real quick, got out the door real fast, and the idea was I had my brother and his girlfriend who were supposed to help me out. They were going to record and kind of help me throughout the day while we're there because I had a feeling I would not be able to record and play games at the same time. So I get there on time. They get there a little later. They don't get in. I actually barely got in, even though I got there early. So anybody who is going to the events that are left, I think there's Chicago, San Francisco, don't listen to the website. Get there at like 6:30 because that's when people are actually lining up. It says don't line up till 7. That line started well before then. I'm going to tell you that now. And if you get there early enough, you can actually get into like the 10 o'clock one, and then you'll be done and out of there by like 12 or 11:30. So you can get it all done in the morning, try it out, then you got the rest of the day to kind of, I guess, do what else you need to do. So unfortunately for me, I got my wristband early, 8 o'clock, and then I had to wait around till 3 o'clock. So I went and saw Lego Batman, a movie, and tried to kill some time in Washington, D.C., which was kind of hard because once you leave that parking lot, it is tough finding parking. So I managed to do it, though. Anyway, they don't get in, so it's up to me to get footage and play games, which actually was harder than I thought it would be because, again, we're on a strict time limit. Once you get in there, you have an hour and a half to do what you got to do. So most of the time is spent waiting in line, even when you get in there. So you wait in line to get a wristband, to then wait in line to get in, to then wait in line. So it is a lot of waiting. I'm going to tell you that, guys, that now. So if you're going to these events, get in early. Get what you want to do done first. So I wanted to play Zelda, but I also knew I'm already getting Zelda. I'm not on the fence about it. I already have it ordered and paid for. I'm getting Zelda. So I want to try the other games that I was on the fence about. Things like ARMS, Bomberman, and I played all these games. And I'll tell you guys about it, and you'll see some footage behind me. So I'm going to make myself very small here to the side so you can check out the footage that's going on. I'm just playing it in just any order, to be honest with you guys, because I had, like I said, a tough time getting footage while actually checking things out. So you'll see here behind me all the different things I took footage of. I did get like Disgaea and everything. I also managed to, the gentleman at the Disgaea 5 booth, so the Disgaea 5 booth, I'll tell you that now, was not busy at all. You could pretty much walk up and there was never really a line for it. So I managed to talk to the guy and he actually helped me out. He was able to disconnect the dock, reconnect it for me on camera. Again, I would have been doing this if I had someone there to, again, my camera crew. But he was happy enough to help me, and that was great because we actually see that when disconnected from the dock, it does switch to that portal mode quickly. It's very fast. Now, when you then take the tablet part, put it into the dock, you see it takes a couple extra seconds. That makes sense. It has to do things like move from a smaller resolution to what could possibly be any TV because it has to handshake to the TV and everything. That takes a couple extra seconds when you're going from the dock and then go into handheld mode. It's a resolution it's already pre-programmed for. It's a screen that's going to be the same every time. That's why it's much faster. So before I talk about any of the games I played, let's just talk about the system right away. The first game I ended up playing, like that I actually sat down and played, was Mario Kart. I want to jump in line for that and see how it felt because they were doing full handheld mode where they kind of set you on like a hollowed out plane and you kind of sit there and play it there, or you can play it in like, I think it was like a bus or something that they hollowed out. Anyway, I get in line, I get up to Mario Kart. It was a little easier because it was just me, so if they had just one to fill, I was able to jump in there rather than there were a lot of couples and groups. So I was able to jump in there and try it out. It was pretty cool. The thing I liked about it was the feel of the tablet. It's very light. which is awesome. It's larger, but it's not heavy, which is really cool. The Joy-Cons fit perfectly on the sides, and the system itself is probably the warmest that I've seen was on Mario Kart. Everything else seemed fine, but that back did get a little warm, I will say that. And I went ahead and tried to measure the airflow that was coming out of the tablet, and I could feel air coming out. It was pretty warm air that was coming out of there too. So the fan was spinning in portable mode, and it was kicking out some air, not a ton, and I couldn't hear it. But my problem was it's very loud there. They were basically throwing like a mini rave while everyone was trying to play games, which is fine because they made it fun as opposed to everyone standing in line quietly and waiting their turn. So they had a good time with it, and I appreciate that. But it made it hard to tell if the tablet system was actually loud with that fan. I just couldn't tell. This did lead me to my favorite part of this entire system, and that is the screen. The screen on this tablet, this portable unit, is really, really nice. And it's interesting because we're so used to what is a really, really bad screen on the 3DS at this point. I mean, the resolution on that thing is so low. And now we go up to the Switch, and the Switch's resolution is fine, and you look at it, and man, it looks great. The viewing angles were fine. The screen was covered by that nice multi-touch glass, which felt just like my phone. Nothing cheap about it. It was very, very nice. But the colors, man, they popped off the screen. There was no ghosting. The frame rate in Mario Kart, even in handheld mode, looked perfect, and it looks so nice on that tablet when you're playing it. The screen is just so well done. It's going to make things so easy to play. Like Xenoblade's going to look perfect on it. Zelda looked great when I looked over people's shoulders. I did get some footage of people playing it. It looked great on the tablet. Splatoon looked fine on the tablet. Overall, it was great. I will say, I think the tablet screen is a little too small to do like multiplayer tabletop mode. Now, I got some footage. They were really showing that off for Snipper Clips. And I managed to get footage of that, and you'll see it looks a little, I don't know, it looks a little too small for two people. I think if one person was playing it, that's fine. I don't think you'll be sitting like super far back or anything, because I think it might be a little hard to see parts of the screen depending on what you're playing. Like if there's really small text, it might be hard to see it. But overall, I think it's definitely good for one person to be playing it. As a handheld, it's perfect. This is going to be the best handheld we've ever seen. I think that was obvious before I went into this, but after seeing the screen in person, seeing it in video does not do this thing justice. It is a really nice screen. I really can't say it any better than that. It is a screen that you are really going to like, especially one coming from Nintendo that is just high quality. So let me move from the tablet part, the screen, to the Joy-Cons. And this is where I think things get interesting. So HD Rumble. It's really cool, and it's hard to describe, but I'm going to do my best to kind of tell you what it was like. So we're used to standard Rumble, which is a very violent Rumble, right? Like if you put a PS3, a PS4, an Xbox One, Xbox 360 controller, if you take it and you put it on a table, and there's a big part that comes up, maybe an explosion, or maybe a ship's taking off, and it's vibrating and rumbling, you could see that thing move across the table and even fall off the table. The vibration with HD Rumble is much more subtle. It's not violent. It's very soft. Again, it's hard to describe, but they've done it to the point where, because it's so subtle, they can almost make it feel like stuff is going on, like the marble game where you're trying to guess how many marbles are in there. Because the vibration is so subtle and so on point in where it needs to be accuracy-wise, it really feels like marbles are rolling around and hitting the side of the Joy-Con, so you can try to count how many are in there. And it was an interesting idea. I like that idea. I did play the one game for 1-2 Switch that I just did not care about is, of course, the first one I play, which is like the quick draw one, and it was okay. It's just it didn't show off any features that I wanted to see. It showed off 0 HD Rumble. I would have rather done the cow milking one, but they weren't demonstrating that when I was in line. So I played that, but then I did move over to the marble one, and that was great. HD Rumble, honestly, very cool idea. I just want to see how they use it going forward in games. It's very hard to describe. Just take it as like a very subtle, very accurate Rumble feature that seems to be able to hit all parts of the Joy-Con, which is interesting. While I was sitting there, I was trying to figure out how they were accomplishing that, because usually you just have a motor in one place that just spins and gives you Rumble feature. So now I'm curious. I really want to open the Joy-Cons and see. I did see they were using tri-wing screwdrivers on the Joy-Con. Not a problem. I have plenty of those. So I'm extremely curious to open up the Joy-Con. Sticking with the Joy-Con, the actual unit itself, when it is separate and it is just that one side with the joystick and everything, might be a little small for some people. I could kind of feel it, maybe a little too small for me even. However, I think it would work if you're just like in like just a quick situation where you and another person want to kind of jump on and play. Again, though, I still think that 6.2 inch screen is a little too small for two people to do even Mario Kart on it. I think it's great for one player. Oh, it's awesome for one player. I don't think you would have a super enjoyable experience with two people playing Mario Kart like they show in the commercials. When I saw them playing snipper clips with it, I thought a split screen would make that really tough to do, but I guess you could make it work. I mean, they do demonstrate that happening in the commercials and everything, so yeah, I guess it can work. I do think whatever third-party accessory comes out with a grip for each Joy-Con that makes it larger for your palms to kind of wrap around, I think we'll have a pretty good selling accessory, because I think it will be needed for people with larger hands, because then they'll get kind of that claw grip going on to try to make it work. However, the buttons were really nice on the Joy-Con. They're kind of clicky, which is nice. And then that kind of leads me into the motion controls. And this leads me into ARMS. So I get in line for ARMS. It wasn't a very long line. It's 5 minutes. I get to actually play ARMS. And I have to say, I am completely sold on ARMS now. I also like that they accomplished all of the motion tracking with 0 sensor bar needed, like none, which is great. But when you start out, you have each Joy-Con in each hand for ARMS, and there is a lot of stuff happening here. So to start, you can just punch like normal, and it was all motion controls. They didn't have it set up for traditional controls. I assume we'll have to wait to try that ourselves. But you would set up, and you would push 2 forward to grab. You would kind of turn like this to block. You would just punch normally. You can do like these curved punches kind of. And overall, it was a really cool idea. I think, so on the Joy-Cons, I think this will take some time to get used to. But hitting like the top shoulder buttons and then the triggers at the same time while doing all of this might be a little hard. It might take a little more dexterity to get used to, because you would activate like your special moves and everything doing that. Again, though, they do have the wrist straps. I could see some people kind of dropping them trying to do all of that. But again, I think you'll get used to it. It takes a little bit to get used to. I could see ARMS becoming an actual like esports game. It's very deep. There's a lot to that game. To move, you just kind of like this, just makes your guy move left and right. And you know what? It's a well done game. It is. It's fun. There's unlockables from what I could tell, because you could change things like gloves, tape, all kinds of stuff on your character. And there were multiple characters, so I think it's going to be a good game. I need to see a little more outside of that. Like, is there going to be like a full story mode campaign? Will there be good online support, including ranking, tournaments, stuff like that? But the core concept, the core gameplay is there. The motion controls work great with it. It was very responsive. It actually gets to a point where you see people up there who are just doing this. You know, just swinging as fast as they can, and they're not getting anywhere. And I think when you realize that the game actually wants you to take your time and make sure you know what you're doing with your motion, and it's not like Wii Boxing where you're just doing, just going crazy, that's when it gets really interesting, because now there's a sense of strategy with this game that you wouldn't have had with older games like Wii Boxing. And in this case, it wants you to kind of know what you're doing and take your time. You won't lose to somebody doing this. I'll tell you that now, if you know what you're doing, because you can dodge, you can block, you can grab them if they get crazy. And then you can beat them up pretty good if they don't know what they're doing and they're just trying to just spam punches. So I like that. I think it's a very deep game, I think, and it's going to be a game that people will take a lot of time to master and then play competitively. I did play Bomberman. Now, I used the Pro Controller for 2 games. I used it for Bomberman, and I used it for Street Fighter. Bomberman was good. It was Bomberman. I was playing it. There was something called Revenge Mode in the one I did, where if you get knocked out, you are then on the perimeter running around, and then you can throw bombs in. If you knock somebody out with your bomb, you are then switching places with them. And it was pretty cool. Me and the other person were playing got to the point where spikes were being dropped because we got so far into it, and then I ended up getting hit with a spike right at the end. So it was fun, though. It played like Bomberman. Is it worth the $50? That's tough, because I only played 2 matches, and it felt like Bomberman. So if you like Bomberman, you would probably like this game. Yeah, I think it's worth it then if you enjoy Bomberman. If you've never played Bomberman, you might not get the entire $50 worth of value out of it, but again, that's up to you. Hopefully they have a demo or something at some point. You could try it, but really, to be honest, you can go play Bomberman on any system, and it's a very similar experience, I think. Fast RMX was up next. I actually did not play this one, but I kind of watched a lot of people play it. It was a very standard racing game. It's very similar, of course, to the one that was on the Wii U. It does 1080p 60. They did not they showed some split screen, but they didn't show 4-player split screen like I was kind of hoping to see how it handled that. Again, it might have been an earlier build, I'm not sure. But the game itself looked good. That's the thing. All these games looked really good in person on TV, and the YouTube stuff does not do them justice, I don't think, because you get that weird bit rate at times where you see the blockiness and squares on encoding and everything. Seeing it on the TV, guys, all these games looked much, much better on TV. I will say some of the games, ARMS, Mario Kart, I think Bomberman, you could see some aliasing. I will say that. Now, I asked every rep that told me, at least would talk to me, said that none of these were the final builds. And I didn't really expect any of them to be the final build, so I was okay with that. But yeah, there was some aliasing here and there. But again, everything looked good. Everything looked very clear on the TVs. And again, looking at that tablet screen, it looks awesome. So let's move to that Pro Controller I was just talking about. The D-pad is good. The D-pad's solid. It's a straight up D-pad that's great. The problem is, of course, there's not a D-pad on the Joy-Cons, so if you want a D-pad, you're kind of forced to buy the Pro Controller. The triggers are tough because we know they're digital, and there's really not a lot of travel distance to them. When you pull them, they kind of just have this like rubberized, mushy kind of click at the bottom, and it does its job. I will say that. Everything about it was fine. Buttons were fine. The joysticks were fine. The rumble was fine. Everything was good. It's a solid controller. I think a lot of people are just missing those I guess, more advanced triggers, those analog triggers. But overall, $70 for a traditional controller, it's fine. The battery life is said to be good at 40 hours. You know what? It's a good controller. $70 might be a little high for that. I think it would have been better if it released at 50 or 60. But if you want a traditional controller scheme, that's what you need to do. Now, we did have 2 Pro Controllers and 2 Joy-Cons hooked up when I was playing Bomberman, so at least those 4 synced up to it no problem. And wouldn't you know it, the booth that I learned the most from is the one I would have never thought. It was actually Sonic, the new Sonic game coming out. The 2D side-scrolling one looks kind of like Sonic CD. I believe it's called Sonic Mania. That one I actually learned the most at, mostly because the Nintendo rep there was actually a lot more informative, I guess, than the others. He seemed a lot more interested in what was going on. Now, I'm not going to say anything bad about these Nintendo reps because they're there to do their job. Some seemed more interested in the job than others. Some seemed a little more informative than others. For example, when I was playing ARMS and I was finished, the gentleman there could not tell me where to go for tabletop mode. At the next one, they could. So it was hit or miss depending on, I guess, how long the Nintendo rep was there for, or what they were, if they were just there to do their job, which is fine. I get that. But the one at this Sonic booth was very informative, and he let me actually do a lot more to the system than the others. Some of the other ones guarded it a little more than I was hoping they would. For example, the person at Bomberman would not let me touch the tablet at all, like the actual system. Some of them let me like play around with them. Like the Disgaea person let me like take the Joy-Cons out of the grips and smack them on the system and take it out, pop it back in. He was way more laid back. But the guy at the Sonic booth attempted to even answer some of my questions, which was great. I mean, the big one was he let me just kind of play around with the whole thing. So I grab it out of there and I look up. I notice that next to that headphone jack, there is a symbol that is like the headset symbol with the microphone. I see this and I go, okay, you could plug microphones in because it's a headset symbol. It's printed right next to it. And he's like, yeah, you can use microphone. You can chat right through the system. So I was like, oh, great. Okay, good. So that it's completely capable. We just need to know if we have options, I should say, if they're going to let us chat through the tablet, because we still don't know anything about it online, but it is ingrained right into the plastic, boom, printed right next to it. So yes, that is a microphone auxiliary headset jack. It should work fine for all of that. And keeping with this guy, he let me basically take the entire system up, and I was flipping it upside down. I was looking everywhere all over this thing. I find screws everywhere, so I kind of have an idea of how I'm going to get this thing apart. I think I would have been kicked out if I tried to take it apart, but I found Phillips head screwdrivers on the sides. Oh, I'm sorry, Phillips head screws on the sides, screws on the sides, and a couple on the back. So I kind of have a point of entry there. I think the 2 rails have to come off, and then I can actually start getting into the tablet. Based on some of those leaks and rumors from Foxconn, it's supposed to be easy to take apart. So I'm hoping it's going to be a very smooth Thursday night when I get this thing in a couple weeks. No, unfortunately, I did not play Zelda. When I got in there, there was already a line, and the first wave was taken up. They were 20-minute play sessions. and they were giving out tickets left and right. I realized if I did that, I would have a very hard time doing Zelda and then playing as much of everything else as I could. I was there more for everything else that I was on the fence about. So like I said, I looked at Zelda and I was like, you know what? I can't wait in line and then miss everything else. I have to make the rounds. So unfortunately, I did not do that. However, the guys over at Commonwealth Realm are doing a great job. So I feel like I have almost played it through them at this point. And I'll be getting it anyway, so I wanted to play the others. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play it. I'm sure there were a lot of you guys that did, so if any of you were watching, you can give us your impressions down in the comments and just let us know what you think. And you could see, so the guy, like I said, at Sonic, he let me really play around with this whole system, picking it up and everything. You could see the heatsink through the vent. It was like a very basic fin array. It was very thin too, but it was a basic fin array heatsink. So that means that there is a heat pipe coming up through those fins, which means that the chip is producing some heat. So it is producing a decent amount of heat for the processing power. Again, when you actually start playing these games like Mario Kart, which is actually very impressive on that handheld, like I said, it makes sense. Mario Kart seemed to push it really hard. Sonic did not push it hard at all, from what I could tell. I mean, it's obviously more of a side-scrolling 16-bit style game, but the system was cool to the touch when I was playing Sonic, but it was very warm when I was playing Mario Kart. So that might be that battery difference. Maybe in Sonic you get 5 hours, maybe in Mario Kart you get 3 hours. Maybe that's kind of something they're letting us know. The less intensive games will get us almost that 5 to 6 hour battery life. And I do want to mention the dock. When I was kind of playing around with the tablet, popping it on, popping it off, I noticed that it's not super easy to put it on there without paying attention. And I'll give you an example. There was a kid, I actually caught footage of this because I saw him going to put the tablet down on the dock, and I was like, I gotta get this. The kid was having a hard time putting it on there. Now, I think that chain part got stuck underneath of it kind of, but even when the dad picked it up and pulled it off, he was kind of having a hard time. Then he pushed it down. He ended up hitting that sleep button. So if you hit that sleep button when it's on the dock, from what I could tell, it turns the TV off too, which is interesting. Because I accidentally did that when I was playing around with it. I tapped the sleep button, the TV goes off, I tap it again, it comes on. So that sleep power button still works when it's in the dock. But yeah, from what I could tell, there was no real like guiding arms or anything to push it down. You kind of have to pay attention. Maybe after a while we get used to it and it just kind of pops in there. Not the easiest thing. I will say that I do see these maybe getting broken from maybe kids realizing it's not in all the way and they push down, because that one kid had no problem really pushing on it. Again, though, you would learn over time. I do like that the contacts for the Joy-Cons are hidden. What I mean is they are underneath an overlipped piece of plastic, so that when you snap them in, you never would see those pins that are hidden, so you can't bend them up. So when it snaps in, it starts charging, which is great, so you don't have exposed, like I said, copper pins or anything. So I think I hit everything. If not, though, ask me questions down in the comments, and I'll see what I can figure out for you guys. Maybe I missed something. However, the whole event was really fun. If you have one coming up in your area, get there early. I'm going to say that now. Get there very early and just have a good time. It was very cool. Met a lot of you guys, which was really neat too, because I don't see a lot of you guys around my area, but that was fun. Overall, good experience. Nintendo is doing a really good job with their marketing. A lot of people come out to these things, from what I could tell, so people know about it and people want this system. There's interest, at least. So make sure you guys comment and like down below so you can get a chance to get one of these pins. I don't know if they're Switch exclusive for the events, but I have two. They gave me two, so I'm going to send both of them out to you guys. And make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys tomorrow.